It's Ebro in the morning. Special guest this morning. Laura Stiles and Rosenberg are not the special guests. Chirlane McCray, the First Lady of New York City, is in the building. Mayor de Blasio's wife. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
Now, normally when your husband comes on the program, he comes via phone. We haven't had him in the room just yet, so I don't know, maybe Chirlane's a little bit more real than the mayor, you know what I mean?
She's out here?
I don't know.
Well, you can let him know that this is a safe environment. Hopefully you feel that way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of energy in this room, and I'm going to give him a full report. I'm going to tell him, don't be scared.
Yeah, no, we got it.
Tell him, please.
So you're working on Thrive NYC, which is a $850 million mental health package that
right.
you oversee for the entire city.
That's right.
And within there is the Connections to Care, where you are planning to serve more than 40,000 New Yorkers over the next 5 years. How is that going to happen?
It's a fabulous program, and it's an innovative program. We want to make sure that we can get services right in the neighborhoods where people need them, need these services. Organizations they already trust, people they already trust, and this is so important because people don't want to go to a hospital or go somewhere strange, people they don't know to get mental health services, but they're needed. And mental health challenges, they're really a hardship multiplier. People can't do their work properly, can't get a job, can't go to school, can't finish school, can't be good parents if they're suffering from a mental health condition. So if someone has depression or anxiety, it's so important that it be treated. It's all treatable, and I want people to know that. It's all treatable.
Well, Laura, you brought up a minute ago before we started the conversation about the stigma even around the term mental health and people being okay accepting that they need some help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people are just intimidated and they're scared to admit that they need help in the first place. And just, not everyone, they feel shamed when they ask for help or just the fact that it's going to be available in neighborhoods. How are you going to get people to feel like it's okay for them to go to these places and get help?
Well, I want to say first that people feel this shame because it's the great unknown. It's not something that most of us have grown up talking about with other people. It's a mystery, and we're afraid of things that we don't understand, things that are not familiar to us. The importance of having services in the neighborhood cannot be overstated. Because these organizations like Bed-Stuy Restoration and Safe Horizons, they're already delivering services to people. They're already teaching people, their skills for various jobs. They're already doing daycare. So these are people that they trust. And these people are going to be trained, these staff people are going to be trained by mental health providers so that they can actually deliver immediate help. They can do crisis counseling. And then because they're going to have mental health providers working with them, if someone needs ongoing care, they can refer them to a place where they can get that care that they need.
I think we should probably also, for people listening, watching this conversation, when we talk about mental health, we're not just talking about maybe some of the things that you think have a stigma, which is, bipolar and, some of these other things, some sort of emotional problems or people who have some other trauma that happened to them mentally. Well, I think we're also talking about people who grow up in neighborhoods where you're hearing gunshots all the time. You're hearing sirens all the time. Yeah. You go to your high school and there's police inside your high school and you got to get a pat down every day. And you've been doing that since you were a teenager, 12, 11 years old. And you don't realize that you've been traumatized by this environment that that you didn't choose to grow up in.
Of course.
And you need to talk to somebody about, addressing those feelings and anger that you have inside, whether it's growing up in a single parent home and not knowing one of your parents and having anger from that. All of that falls into mental health.
That's right. It is so common. I mean, depression, anxiety, and we estimate 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 New Yorkers has a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year. That's a lot of people. I mean, look around this room.
It's loud out here.
That means,
the trains,
some of us right here.
The news, New York Post, you're not helping. Daily News, you're not helping with your headlines, scaring everybody all the time.
Ms. First Lady, is your own experience with your daughter and some of the things that she's gone through a catalyst for your particular interest in this? Because we know she's been very brave and public about substances and things like that she's worked through. So how much has that affected your interest in this subject?
It's deeply affected me, but my interest in the subject really predates her, and there's I have to tell you, my life has been filled with so many people and circumstances that have kind of propelled me in this direction. So it's personal. It's definitely personal. But my understanding has deepened through my experience with
It's also
daughter.
it's also interesting to think about when you go around New York and you see, if you see homeless people, or if you see, which we're better off here on that issue than we are in other places, in a lot of other metropolitan cities, but so many people who you see in that situation. I mean, the percentage, I don't know what the exact number is, but I imagine the percentage of people without homes who have diagnosable mental illness must be outrageously high. So how can you really solve all those problems if we're not attacking the problem at the root, which is mental health, right?
It's high, but it's not as high as you might think.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to say maybe 30%. It's my guess. It's we have a lot of families, a lot of working families who are homeless. People you see out in the street are often people who've been allowed to they haven't gotten treatment. They're like people like you and I, and they didn't get treatment for their condition, and it's just spiraled into a seriousness that it's hard to bring them back. That's the thing. If you don't get treatment,
it gets worse.
It gets worse. It
Yeah.
doesn't go
Yeah.
away. People often think, "Oh, I'm gonna tough it out. I'm gonna work through this," and that's not the way it works. It gets worse.
Yeah, and also if you're a parent too, and if you're depressed, you create that environment for your children, and then your children have to deal with that energy and that environment, and it's just like a domino effect.
That's right.
How do for you, Chirlane, I know you and Mayor de Blasio have been very active politically for some time, right? And active in New York City.
Yes.
And even in Hillary's campaign, when de Blasio, the mayor, worked for Hillary, right?
That's right.
How are you, I don't know if I'll use the right word, is enjoying, because I don't think anybody's enjoying what we're seeing from some of this primary stuff with Donald Trump and the violence at rallies, et cetera, et cetera.
How are they taking in?
How are you taking it?
Yeah, how are you taking in the whole election process?
I think it's terrifying. I really do. And I've written about it in my blog, FlowNice, FLO.NYC.
Oh, you got rhymes?
Yeah.
Flow nice? You got
I
rhymes?
see out here flowing nice.
You got rhymes?
First
Hey, that's Shawnee
lady of New York
instrumental.
City.
Sorry.
It's really not. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's
I don't think
scary.
people should think this is entertainment
Right.
at all. I know some people say, "Oh, I'm going to watch this because he's funny." He is not funny. This is very scary stuff going on, and people should remember back in the day. George Wallace, would make comments like that, and he was serious.
Yeah.
He was very
Do you
serious.
you have a relationship with Donald Trump from just being in New York
No.
City?
No,
Never met him,
no,
don't know
no,
him,
no.
not at all. And Hillary?
No. Hillary, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you are you liking how she's handling things? Because obviously people are attacking her from all sides. And in your
Yeah.
opinion, you like how she's handling
Yeah,
it?
it's really, it's tough. It's really tough out there. I have a lot of compassion for those
Yeah.
candidates. I feel blessed that we've got two good Democratic candidates. Bernie Sanders and
They
Hillary Clinton.
look
We're
stellar
like-
compared to the GOP.
They're
right?
fabulous. They really are. They're fabulous. It's really hard to be out there doing this work, and
Would
I
you-
applaud them.
Would you like to see? I think as time goes on, more and more, as it gets more and more scary what the opposition is, and as they become shockingly more formidable, do you have any interest in seeing Bernie and Hillary come together for a ticket, or do you think that's unrealistic?
I think that Hillary's my candidate, and I'm going to wait and see what happens. I think that and most people I talk to would be very happy to have either one of them serve as president of the United States, and I'm not worried on the Democratic side. I am worried about what the other.
Well, and I
side
guess
do.
at this point, like I said yesterday, I'm not going to participate in the negativity that is the Donald Trump thing, right? Like I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to allow myself to go on tirades about it. I'm just going to save my energy for when it's real. It's time for us to vote. And hopefully at that point, we have enough energy and momentum for those of us that don't agree with what Donald Trump represents to make sure that people get out and vote and stay active, because I know that's some of the fear too, is that young people, the way we went out for and voted for Obama, won't be as active this time around because someone is cool and awesome as Obama may not be up there. But I think Donald Trump might be the catalyst we need to get people voting.
Oh, please, people, vote. If you're not registered to vote, register. Get out there and vote. We need every vote. Every vote counts.
Are you going to support the mayor when he runs for a second term? Are you going to say, enough, let's go on vacation and let's enjoy our lives?
We would like 4 more years.
4 more years.
Yeah, 4 more years. We're doing a lot of good work.
Yeah.
And feel like we're just getting started. It's time to run again.
We talk to your husband a lot about fighting back sometimes. Like, I just feel like he lets like in a city like New York, you can't let everyone slide sometimes. Sometimes he needs everybody with a tall glass of shut up juice.
Is it hard for you ever, like when he was going through that experience, for example, right? We thought he was very unfairly attacked. The whole NYPD situation where they didn't feel that he was doing enough and people had turned their back on him and things got overstated and overblown, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But he did take a lot of heat in the press at that point. Are times like that hard for you? I mean, you guys are really in the public eye, and seeing your husband, who you know is a good man, get criticized must be difficult.
Oh, yes. It was a very difficult time. And but, more difficult because there's so much pain and suffering, the families of the officers, and it was not easy. But I think he's a good mayor. He knows how to do this work, and you have to choose your battles.
Yeah, the press machine that these rich folks in New York City use to slander him in the newspapers, they pay some good money to get these headlines on the cover of the Post and the Daily News going at your husband. I tell him that all the time. I'm pretty frank with him because I know the hierarchy of New York City, which is a lot of Wall Street and a lot of rich folks who don't even live necessarily in Manhattan. They live in Connecticut and Greenwich. They pay to try to slander de Blasio and make him look bad and overblow things in the paper, and it's tough for him to fight back and be the intellectual that he is.
So if you were to tell someone out there who is feeling that they may have someone close to them who's dealing with a mental health issue, like we were discussing earlier, what's the first thing they would do if they wanted to seek help in New York City?
Well, the most important thing is to talk to that person. And if that person is not close enough for you to talk to them, find somebody for that person to talk to, whether it's a primary care provider or a teacher or counselor, someone, because it's important to make sure that person is talking to someone that they trust. And then we do have a LifeNet. It's a 1-800-LifeNet, I think it is, and people can call and get information there and access to services. In the fall, we're going to launch NYC Support. So it'll be much easier for people to navigate mental health services. It's going to be one number, one website. People can text, and you can get an appointment. You can be connected to the person who has your insurance, lives in your borough. The whole thing, the whole gambit. It's going to be fantastic, but we won't launch that until the fall. It's very difficult out there, and we know that. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that people have services in their neighborhoods, and then also know how to navigate the social services that are available.
Will you guys make sure to have bilingual services for people who have English not as their first language?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, absolutely. And I should mention that Connections to Care, one of the reasons why we want these services in the neighborhoods is because we need culturally competent services. We need services where people can feel like someone speaks their language.
Right.
And so that if you're Orthodox Jewish or you're Arab or you speak Mandarin or Cantonese, that you can get the services in your language with people who understand your culture. That's a big priority for us.
What do you think? We talk seriously about it sometimes. We joke about it, but that the suburban white experience in America is one that you're very familiar with depression. And I've always known people who were in therapy who were possibly on antidepressants if necessary. And we talk about that cultural divide of a lot of my black friends don't have the same experience.
Ain't nothing wrong with you, boy. You need to go sit down.
Yeah, go. And people, in the inner city, it can be seen as almost like a weakness if you acknowledge that you have a mental health issue, you want to go get help, instead of just saying, "Oh man, have a drink and relax," which is really sort of the opposite of helping. Is that something that you guys agree with or are cognizant of, that there does seem to be differences in the way that different cultures in the city and outside the city approach mental health?
Yes, that's the thing. We have to change the culture. We have to educate people that no, it's not. You're feeling persistently sad for week after week after week. That's depression. You need to get help. You need to talk to somebody. That's part of the misunderstanding that people have about what mental illness is and what it is not. And we've got to we're actually going to do a whole public engagement campaign, people doing testimonials about their own personal experiences with anxiety and with depression and with addiction. So people can sort of see themselves, like what it actually looks like what the experience is like to have this condition. Otherwise, people just don't know. They don't know.
Well, I think for
I
young-
was brought up, with folks like, you just tough it out.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
Of course you're sad. The world's a tough place. You know, you're gonna be sad, and that's actually
not right.
No,
that's not
it's
the right
not
thing.
right.
I would even take it a step further for young people too. If you're hearing this conversation, if every day you're trying to smoke some weed or figure out a way to get your hands on some pills illegally, or you're out here drinking heavily because you would rather be that person than your normal sober person, you're probably dealing with a heavy mental health issue that needs to be addressed. Right. And a lot of times, you're a kid, you're in college, you're like, nah, I just like having fun. Nah. B, if you can't have fun and be sober, and you have to be intoxicated to have fun, there's a bigger issue that you're probably not addressing. And you may not be aware of it. It might not be forefront in your mind. It might be something that you've locked away subconsciously that you're not dealing
Well, let's be
with.
honest. That's such a fine line, right? Like, even for adults, even people with relatively healthy lives, finding adults who have a healthy relationship with alcohol, for example, and the way that they choose to celebrate. Like, where you draw that line of, oh, yeah, once a week or twice a month or whatever it is when I go out, I have drinks, versus, wow, I'm really doing this way
Every
too
day.
often, or I'm
Every
getting
day,
way too
yeah.
drunk. This is a problem. That's a really
Or
fine
I don't
line.
even want to be social unless I'm on something, or you know what I mean? Like, there's people like that. Huh?
That's right.
Y'all got any weed? I'll go out if y'all got something to drink. We gonna be drinking. He'd be like, we can't just have some food.
Yeah, let's just have a conversation.
conversation?
So that's a tough thing.
It is tough. We've got many. I think more than 70,000 alcohol-related admissions to the hospital every year in New York City. 70,000. That's a lot of people.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a lot.
Yeah, that's not counting the drugs and everything else. That's just alcohol.
I wonder, just saying, how many marijuana-related trips to the hospital there are versus alcohol.
Well, most of those might be fights if you didn't put 5 on it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's-
you out here
that's-
smoking my weed, you ain't putting nothing on it,
that's-
my G. It's different.
That's very, very, very different.
Chirlane McCray.
I'm back here. I like y'all.
Now this blog of
Please
yours,
do.
what is it?
Yes.
Flow?
Nice. It's First Lady of New York City.
I thought,
You just thought she was
bars.
kicking bars.
I thought she just opened the blog every day and just had freestyles for the people.
Oh, I like the sound of that. I like the sound of FLO.NYC, and I'm on Twitter.
You write rhymes?
I do sometimes.
Poetry?
Yeah, I write poetry. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you post it on your blog?
Sometimes, yes.
All right, so we may
Yes.
go take some of your poetry and put it to music and call it a Chirlane McCray rap
Shawnee,
song.
you can light some incense and we can have like a little deaf poetry jam in here.
Some sage.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
I have to write something new now.
Chirlane, it was a pleasure talking to you and meeting you face to face. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.